So I'm at the Wild Horse Burro adoption event here in Springfield, Ohio. Here at this adoption event, there were 29 Mustangs that were available for adoption, including many that were larger, colored, or just really inquisitive. Boop. In addition to the Mustangs that were available for adoption, this event also served as one of the options for a pickup site from the January Online Corral, which is one of the ways that you can adopt a wild Mustang. In that online corral, there were 3 particularly interesting Mustangs with a distinctive curly coat. They were all from the Black Rock Range HMA or herd management area, which is an area that's known to have a small band of curlies just outside of it.
I would love to see any one of these curly horses. That would be really awesome.
2 months later, and I was on my way to Ohio. While I was there, I was also looking for 3 horses that were adopted by subscribers, a yearling gelding and 2 mares. When I arrived, one of the first horses I saw was that yearling gelding, and I believe this is the one that one of my subscribers actually adopted in the online corral. So this little guy went on to be named Boaz and was picked up the next day. Here in pen 1, so we have 2 from the online corral. The rest are available for adoption. When I first arrive, it's honestly a little bit overwhelming. I'm trying to orient myself and there's so many horses there, but as I spend more time watching, I start to discover little personality traits that come out. Somebody's taking a nap. Hi. This little horse we're now going to refer to as Snooze. I wanted to honor the individuality of each Mustang, and I thought nicknames might be helpful. I apologize if they're horrendous, but it might be easier to keep track of the horses this way, especially since you will be seeing them throughout the video. This is tag 9637, available for adoption today and tomorrow. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hi. And this one has already been adopted. 7037. This is one of the horses from the online corral, and her adopter went on to name her Connecticut. You're special. Very inquisitive. You're very inquisitive. To adopt a wild Mustang, adopters will have to complete an application with the Bureau of Land Management, meeting several requirements such as the fencing height, the trailer, and shelter. As you can imagine, adopting a wild Mustang requires a good bit of knowledge and experience, so I'm going to link some videos in the description below that might help you as you consider if you're ready to adopt. Alright, 7281. This is the second adult mare I was looking for from the online corral. Here she is. She was a little trickier to film as she hung around the back of the pen away from people as much as she could. She would become known as Callista. Now these 2 mares you'll see a lot more of. I'll call the one on the left Spice and the one on the right Sugar. That is a big guy right there. You are cute. These are all cute. So the first thing I did when I arrived was film a walkthrough of each of the different pens. I wanted to show all the horses before they started going home. You can see that video in the description box below. You're adorable. You are too. You want to say hi? You want to say hi to the camera? Boop. Oh, what a sweetheart. Alright, so this one we're going to call Boopers. Sorry again to the adopters, these names are not well thought out, so feel free to comment below what you named your horse and also if you have a social media following the horse. Soon after arriving, I saw one of the horses that I was really hoping to see, one of the curlies from the January Online Corral. I hadn't ever seen a curly horse in person, so it was pretty cool. It was covered in curls all the way down to its hoofs. Definitely a very unique horse. Another cool horse here was this roan, which I'll call Frosty. He was displaying some agitated behaviors, but much of it was likely due to the stress of the environment, being in small pens with multiple other horses, and the last few days have been pretty crazy for them. Again, this was a 2-day adoption and pickup, so horses had to be shipped in for this event. They have certainly had an increase of stressors leading up to this point, so something for adopters to keep in mind when they bring the horses home. At this point, loading had begun and Mustangs were starting to go home with their adopters. Alright, so this is pen 1. This first one right here is available for adoption as well as the roan. And again, this little yearling gelding is Boaz. These ones, I believe, were all born into holding, meaning that their mothers are rounded up while pregnant. This one quickly became one of my favorites. We're going to call her Lily. And the roan beside her we'll call River. You'll see both of these horses more in this video. When I knelt down the ground to film, the yearling's interest in me spiked. Lily came forward to inspect, and then it was Boaz next in line, followed by another sorrel filly who had been adopted in the online corral. Adopting a yearling is a special experience because you get to experience the horse's different life stages and have a partner for many years to come. You also have plenty of time to form a bond and develop a foundation before you start them under saddle. Over in pen 3, one of the horses was being sorted out to load. Alright, so I am absolutely frozen. This is all my layers. I didn't bring much on this trip. I packed very late because I'm carrying everything. And did not expect this weather. The weather in Ohio has been crazy. There was actually a really bad tornado last night. And then today is just bone chilling right now. I was there for most of the day, so I was so grateful when someone gave me a pair of hand warmers. It was a super sweet couple who were actually subscribers to the channel and here to pick up their horse they had won from the online corral. It was this Palomino gelding right here, who was 3 or 4 years old and already quite tall. A nice little blaze. Good size. Across the way were Sugar and Spice, watching what was going on. In another pen, the curly horse was about to be sorted out. Curly. I'm not quite sure why it was brought out, but they returned it back to the pen.
Because why not? Before this kid, I've never seen a curly coated horse. It was the coolest
I've never
thing.
seen one in person. My dad's horse was a curly. He was what got me into him. And then I found out Mustangs could be curly, and I was like.
Soon after, another horse was sorted out. The horses are identified by their neck tags, which is the last 4 digits of the freeze brand that you see on the left side of their neck. The freeze brand can be read using the alpha angle system and gives information such as the horse's birth year and where it was processed. Additionally, the Mustangs are microchipped, which is helpful if the brand is unclear. The taller mare you see walking by right now is Callista, who we saw earlier in the video. This gelding had the tip of one ear crooked and the other tip was missing. We'll call him Teddy. They returned one of the horses and then worked on pulling out another. The horse on the left with the red tag was the one they were trying to quietly sort out. However, one of the other horses was already pretty worked up and ran along with it. The center aisle of this setup has multiple gates, so the horses can continue to be separated. The horses that aren't being chosen are returned back to the pens, and eventually they're left with the horse they're trying to load. In this case, they were loading 2 horses. They had already separated out the buckskin, but were adding the bay with the red tag. Next up was one of the yearlings. Now this is a big horse. From the Online Corral, 5190. Beautiful. Getting an itch. At this point in the morning, it was pretty quiet with a break between pickups. Usually an adoption event will kick off and it's pretty busy, but then after a while it will settle down. Here's another look at Frosty, who we saw earlier. He really reminds me of a horse that I used to take lessons on. Loading began again, and this time it was the Palomino that was adopted by one of my subscribers. When I'm at these events and they're doing sorting, I'm often standing in front of one of the pens to the side, but sometimes I will back up as well and just zoom in instead because I don't want to add additional pressure and stress to the horse. And this pen, I felt it was better for me to do that. You can imagine how the horses might have been impacted if I was standing up by that clipboard, and also how that might complicate the sorting process. When the horses become increasingly anxious or stressed, it becomes harder to separate them as they cling to each other for protection. These Palominos ran back and forth a couple times, and then they were able to close one of the gates in the alley to separate the two. I moved over to the next pen being sorted. Not gonna lie, I was really drawn to this bay gelding here. He seemed to have a lot of similar traits to my Mustang Jaeger. He was similar in color, and he also had that very soft, dreamy gaze. He was thoughtful and attentive, doing well at processing all that was going on around him. He turned towards the camera with a look I often see from Jaeger. They were so similar. Even their mane fell the same way, mostly to the left and with the bottom half to the right. However, his nose was slightly deformed, appearing as though it were pinched together from the top. A little bit crooked. With the camera angled correctly, you would see a little bit of his teeth, as if his face was frozen in a smile. And so that's what I'm going to call him, Smiles. That's like how it's positioned. So he's got a little bit of teeth showing. After some sorting had gone on, they returned the remaining horses back to the pen. Every time he looked at me, I couldn't get over how much he reminded me of my own horse. You're special. And there was Charlie in the middle, raising his upper lip. He had been the horse earlier on in the video, making funny faces with his lips. One by one, it was as if a chain reaction of yawns started in this pen. You'll also notice Charlie blinking, sneezing, and shaking his head. These are all indicators of stress, which isn't surprising considering they had just been pulled out for the sorting process. And even though it was a mild one, they're still sensitive animals, so yawning is one of the ways that they release the tension after the stressful event. You might also see it during or after a training session or a social interaction between horses, but learning how to read your horse is so important, especially if you're going to be adopting one of these animals. So it is noon on Friday. Unfortunately, it's been fairly busy, but unfortunately there's not a lot of people here. So again, this was a 2-day adoption event here in Ohio, and I was told the attendance here was fairly normal as this event really kicked off this season for the eastern states and the northern district. I know there were quite a few pickup appointments the next day, and some of the horses that were adopted today didn't get picked up until the next day as well. But it was definitely a slower event that I've been to. I try to make it out to as many of these events as I can. Next up is New Hampshire, so stay tuned for that one later in April. All right, I'm noticing this guy's lifting a leg, just holding that hoof. This is probably one of my favorite horses here. I said it. Just keep an eye on that. This was Smiles resting his leg. It's like he's frozen in a smile. Just curious how it affects him, eating and all that. He's doing it again. You can see there's a gap. It's not weighted. The shadow of his hoof. There, you put some more weight on it. Smiles did unfortunately appear to be lame when he walked away. Now, I'd be really curious what it would be like to adopt a lame horse, because they have traveled a long way, actually coming from California, stopping in Elm Creek, Nebraska for a rest, and then continuing the way here to Ohio. Horses' bodies aren't machines, and a lot can happen in a trip like that. Another potential cause could be if they had had their hooves trimmed before traveling, which is sometimes the case. Anyway, my whole point is, what if they were given a chance? I just wonder how they would do in a home. Not the best choice for someone with a specific purpose in mind, but for a non-demanding home, these horses could be wonderful. All right, they're sorting another horse, so I'm gonna go over and see. It's that roan. This was Frosty getting ready to load up to go home. He was joined by a second horse on the trailer.
I'm ready for one.
Snooze watched as the yearlings were being sorted. In the center aisle were Lily and Boaz. Snooze decided to say hi while we were watching. Here, River, Lily, and Boaz were returned to their pen. Snooze was still standing next to me, and I caught Sugar and Spice still hip to hip together. You're very friendly. This horse here had a phenomenal build, and was filled out in such a way that had me wondering what its story was. The other large bay from the other side of the aisle had been sorted out to get ready to load in the trailer. This horse was quite large for a Mustang.
Go, big boy. You're good.
Look at that beautiful mane. Here was Sugar, and of course, right behind her was Spice. You're really pretty. You guys coming to say? To inspect? Coming to inspect? At this point, there was another slow period in the day, and it was pretty quiet. One of the horses that was available for adoption was this Cremella gelding. This was the horse that I had called Boopers, the one that had thoroughly inspected my camera earlier in the video. I walked back over to the Curly's pen. He stopped there, noticing a small child walking by. Many of the horses were very intrigued by the little humans. His expression changed suddenly when more sorting began. It was the yearling pen again, with Boaz, Lily, and River. This time they were trying to sort out River, but she clung tightly to Boaz. They were trying to separate them using the aisle's gates, but the horses kept running too closely together. They let the yearlings settle a bit before trying again. This is also something for new adopters to consider. When you arrive to pick up your Mustang, it's sorted out to load onto the trailer, but chances are before you arrive, the horse has already been involved with multiple sortings. Between that and the length of time these horses have spent traveling, plus all the changes in the past 7 days, it's all good reasons to let your horse settle a bit before you start working with it. It took a couple tries, but they were able to get the yearlings apart. Another bay was sorted out to join River. They were briefly in a small section of the aisle while the chute was prepared for loading. A third horse waited behind the gate, and all three loaded onto the trailer. Once on the trailer and moving, things usually settle pretty quickly. I then had Sugar check out my camera.
Thanks for pooping.
And of course, Spice was right alongside her.
All right, so this one is from the Online Corral. It's labeled as a Pinto, but it pretty much is like the matching set to this one, who is available for adoption. Hi. And they've been like hip to hip pretty much this whole time. Ooh, you're cute.
And of course, here we had Snooze, who was available for adoption.
You're so majestic. Snack time, huh? Snack time.
Behind Spice was Connecticut, one of the other horses that had said hi to my camera earlier.
Hello.
At this point, there were now several Mustangs that had given me solid touches. I caught the second half of Snooze rolling.
All right, so this one, I don't know if I've gotten yet. This is 6417. Getting sleepy, but she's kind of got a little dish nose, really pretty head. She seems pretty just mellow and has a nice mind on her, but sometimes the little plain ones are easy to overlook, but it's really fun. I enjoy spending a good chunk of the day here because you start to see personalities and whatnot. This big mare, oh my goodness, this reminds me there was a big bay mare in Ocala that looks so much like her. So the double brand here, it looks like they probably started the first brand, got it wrong, and had to fix it. And that's why there's one underneath. Everyone is pretty sleepy. It's all quiet here. I love this horse. Yeah.
Would you like to say hi?
You guys are very curious.
Here's Teddy again. And of course, Smiles. It was time to sort out another horse. They started by just opening the gate, and what do you know, the horse walked through. A very simple process there. Another bay was added, and the two loaded onto a trailer. Another quiet time began, and here in this pen remaining were Lily yawning and Boaz looking pretty sleepy. A little nipping turned into an invitation to mutual groom. Across the aisle, another yearling was napping. Or sort of. I heard someone remarking that if they didn't have so many already, maybe they could adopt. I feel those. I feel that. There's so many. I'm like, oh, I wish I could. Oh, this is a really sweet horse. I just saw the
What?
the one laying down. It's very quiet. I bet she would be a really fast one. She has a good mind. Yeah, you're a sweetheart.
I'd adopt you.
But yes, the struggle of having too many horses. I currently have 4 Mustangs back at home in Vermont, and it is more than enough. I simply cannot afford to take on another one.
You're very cute. You're very cute.
At this point, it appeared to be nap time for the horses. And then this pair has literally been side by side like nearly the whole adoption event. But they're really like a matching set. So it'd be really cool if this one's adopter brought home this one who's very friendly. I know, you guys would be a cute set. A very cute set. Yeah, you like each other. All right, pen 3 is what we have left. I know that big one was from the online corral. This one of my subscribers adopted. This one was Callista. Just waiting to go home tomorrow as well. And this one was Connecticut. So this one is going with that one. This guy here has been a little bit more stressed than the others. He's got the tip of his ear missing, and then the other ear's bent. Kind of cute though. It's endearing. That's the word. All right, so in pen 6, they're all adopted except for the Cremello here. I think he's a 7-year-old gelding. All the horses here today are from Nevada. He's been a little bit more nervous here, but you know, it's kind of to be expected. There's a lot going on, lots of noises, lots of activity, so I bet he would settle in just fine. Right, sir? This is really interesting to watch how he responds right here. Someone's coming up. He's getting his picture taken. Yeah. A little nervous. I really like this one here. Super friendly. Pen 7. These are all online corral horses waiting to be picked up. This guy. Oh, he's like herd. It's pretty stunning. 8, 2, 3, 1. Look at the size on him. Out of time. I have to hop on a plane. It's been crazy because I didn't get into Ohio until like 1 a.m. this morning. Now, following this event, I've already seen updates on Callista, Connecticut, and Boaz, and they are all moving right along in their training. I'll let their adopters choose if they want to comment below with their pages so that you can follow them. And I'll also be at the New Hampshire adoption event. See you guys later.